even from the very start of its launch into early access, Dyson Sphere Program just hasn't felt like it belongs there. When a game launches early access, it's generally expected to be a little buggy and a little lacking, but with at least some of its core play ready to go. But if development ended tomorrow for this game, I wouldn't complain one bit. It honestly feels like a nicely packaged game right from the get-go. I have yet to make it to some of the endgame content, so it's hard to look at it from that perspective, but I've sunk over 25 hours into the game so far, and the only early access moment I've experienced is a small arm of the tech tree that's currently unavailable. The quickest explanation I can give of this game is that its core gameplay is similar to that of Factorio, but with the fluidity that Satisfactory brought to the table. Oh, and did I mention an expanded planetary system that feels inspired by Planetary Annihilation, although it's much more expansive than what Planetary Annihilation has to offer, but we're gonna get into that in a moment. You see, you control a mech whose singular purpose is to build a Dyson sphere. If you're unfamiliar with what a Dyson sphere is, it's this hypothetical megastructure that completely encompasses a star and captures a large percentage of its power output. If this is your first time hearing about one, then you should seriously go look it up because they're pretty cool. But the end goal here is to build one, and to do that, you need to industrialize your planet by harvesting and refining resources in order to craft them into components so that you can construct machines and even more complex components, allowing you to automate the construction of even more complex machines and ridiculously complex components that can only be crafted by combining these different complex components together. It's hard to follow what's going on sometimes. The biggest potential failing point of this kind of game is generally how they handle the construction mechanics. But thankfully here, Dyson Sphere Program's greatest aspect is actually the construction mechanics. You have this massive reach as to where you can place things, and these little drones fly out and place it all for you. So these complicated systems you have to make and build and maintain can be easily tweaked and adjusted from all over, and all you have to do is wait for the drones to go and place everything for you. The next best feature of the game is how they simplified sorters by letting you hit tab to cycle through the sorting part of the sorters so that you don't have to navigate extra menus in order to set up complex or delicately fine-tuned conveyor systems. You can quickly and easily navigate construction and optimization without having to scour through menus and tons of clicks. Speed and efficiency at our fingertips. I really hope that every single game that goes and builds these kinds of systems incorporates this kind of mechanic in the future. When you're playing through this, I think the first two major milestones that you're going to encounter are going to be first when you start to struggle with hydrogen, because it's a pain in the ass early game, and even if you have your network set up properly, it's just a whole choke point, and there's tons of issues, it's just a disaster. And once you get that figured out, your second big milestone is going to be when you discover that the next resource you need is not available on this planet, so off to the stars you go. I almost didn't talk about the Planetary Travel in this review because the experience of discovering it was one of the best moments I've had in the game. When the scope of everything already seems so large, only for you to realize it's just a small fraction of what could be. It was breathtaking, and I wouldn't want to trade that for the world. But it was hard to figure out how to do the review without it, because although it seems like you spend an eternity mastering your starting planet's factory system, most of the game is actually spent after that managing resources between different planets and eventually star systems. Yeah, that's right, star systems. I couldn't find a single planet that had every type of resource. My starting planet had most of what I needed until I needed titanium, and at that time I thought silicone, but it turns out you can make silicone from stone. So I had to go out and find a new planet, and the one I found had no water, almost no coal, and the wind turbines didn't operate very well on it. So I had to haul resources by hand back to my starting planet until I finished building the solar panels so I could power my new trade ships that transported the goods from one planet to the next. And watching these ships collect materials and take off just looks amazing. Look how massive the structure is. Just do yourself a favor and make sure you have enough power before you travel to another planet. I can't count the amount of times I forgot to check, ran out of power, and missed the planet by a fraction, and spent the next 20 minutes trying to get back around to the planet only to give up and reload a second save. And with that, that's all I got. So, in a score of should you play Dyson Sphere Program? Well, if you like balancing logistics and troubleshooting systems, this might be something to check out. If you hate micromanaging production lines, well, I don't really know what else to tell you. Out of 5.